There's a lot of games out there that don't get the attention they deserve. They either get unfair stick from critics and gamers alike, or they come out at the wrong time and sell horrifically. In doing this series though, I hope I do some of these games justice. There's no better place to start really than the modern Silent Hills, not Book of Memories though, that shit. In this video I'm mostly going to be talking about Downpour, but a lot of the points I'm going to be making can be applied to Homecoming as well. You'll see a lot of people compare these to the older Silent Hill games, and that's fair enough I suppose. But if you take a step back and judge these games without the comparison to the original series, then they're really good games I think. Yeah, they are inferior to the original series, but I'd rather that they changed up the formula like they did with these games, rather than keep it the same and let the whole series stagnate, which we see way too much of in this industry. When Downpour was released, it got a pretty much meh out of 10 from critics. One of the most scathing reviews was IGN, giving it a pitiful 4 out of 10, and some people were even harsher on it. It also sold like acidic piss, a fate undeserved some might say.
After Silent Hill 4, which is another underrated Silent Hill, the original team behind the franchise, Team Silent, was disbanded because Konami wanted a Western developer to make the games, one of the many stupid choices Konami have made over the years, you could argue. The first attempt by the West was the PSP and PS2 game Silent Hill Origins, a prequel to the whole series, which was painfully average. 3 was where the series started to stagnate I thought, and 4 was a nice change, but then Origins took a step back and made the game largely similar to the original 3, playing it extremely safe and coming off as boring. Then we came to Homecoming, which showed improvement. Silent Hill has always had awful combat, and that made sense considering who you were playing as in the other games. But the main protagonist of Homecoming, Alex, was very tasty in a fight since he was apparently a soldier. However, spoiler alert, the ending of Homecoming reveals that Alex actually isn't a soldier, which makes you wonder how he got so good at fighting and using firearms. Story and retardedness aside, Homecoming as a game was alright. Despite Alex being a scrapper, enemies were still deadly and ammo was scarce. The environments were really well detailed and they had some great atmosphere attached to them. Monster wise it wasn't great. A few were recycled from past games which didn't represent Alex's inner turmoil at all. It felt they were placed there for fan service. Now we come to Downpour, the one I mainly want to talk about. First I'd like to talk about the story. I was so glad that Downpour got rid of the evil cult shite that Silent Hill 1 and 3 did, and what Homecoming sort of did. The town is a lot scarier when you don't know why it's fucked up. The fear of the unknown as it's known is much more subtle and tense without needing to resort to jump scares, which I also thought Downpour did quite well. The story in the game unfolds slowly and subtly, and the choices you make throughout the game determine the ending, but these were very mishandled. These choices combined with the amount of enemies you killed changed the bad thing Murphy did, or if he even did something bad, which I thought was stupid. Silent Hill 2 and even Homecoming were more effective. The bad thing those main characters did remained the same, and the endings were just them redeeming themselves or being punished in different ways for what they did. Main character Murphy is a prisoner at the start of the game, and the environments do a good job of portraying his life in solitude. There's a lot of claustrophobic places, and even when you're exploring the open world Silent Hill, you still feel trapped and alone in a town that's out to get you. The monsters in the game were not particularly scary or as fucked up as they were in past games, but I personally thought that they represented Murphy's subconscious well, which is, as we should know, is where the monsters are generated from. Now gameplay, I just want to show a clip of IGN's train wreck of a review.
Close quarters combat feels sluggish, loose, and frustrating. And shooting is purposely inaccurate too. For such a combat-heavy take, Downpour doesn't deliver when it comes to action.
Let's look who we're playing as. A cut and dry standard man who ended up in prison. He's not exactly going to be great in a fight or with guns. It's true what he says, the combat is clunky, but how many times did you run away in Silent Hill 1, 2, 3 and 4 because the fighting was clunky on purpose and is often ill-advised in these games? Exactly, combat is only meant to be used when it's the only way out. Running away in this game is perfectly viable most of the time, and this twat seems to think it's a combat-focused game. Weapons degraded with each hit, and you could only hold one melee weapon at a time, but to make up for this, environments were littered with things to use, and different weapons had different degradation rates. Exploration was a key part of the game, not just the main story mode, but side quests were introduced. Whilst these were intriguing and gave you a reason for exploring the town, the rewards for doing these weren't exactly worth it. Some offered weapons and items, and some had cool little stories attached to them, but you won't miss out if you don't do them. At the end of the day, I think these these modern Silent Hill games, much like Adolf Hitler, were just misunderstood.